What's up, guys? Part-Time Gamer Dad here, and today I'm giving you my predictions for WrestleMania 41 Night 1. Let's start by talking about the Tag Team Championship match between the War Raiders and the New Day. I think the reason that this is happening over the SmackDown Tag Team title match of the Street Profits versus Motor City Machine Guns on a proper WrestleMania card is because I think the New Day are going to win. Had one of the best heel turns, at least of the last 10-20 years, against Big E last year, and since then have had kind of a hard time getting their feet under them as this new heel team. I think you're going to kind of cement them as that heel team to kind of be the face of the Raw Tag Team division starting at WrestleMania by having them win the tag team titles from the War Raiders, a very dominant, very known tag team that has really been a dominant force on the tag team division for WWE over the last few years as well. Now, the one thing I could see kind of working against this theory of the New Day winning the tag team championships is if Big E is the reason that we're seeing the New Day get a title match on a WrestleMania card, is because Big E is going to return and properly, or he's going to cost them the New Day the match. So that could happen, but I think if we leave Big E out of this, the New Day walk away with the Raw tag team titles. Next up, Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. Now, listen, guys, I'm one of those people who feels very hurt that after an incredible year of character work and development, Chad Gable's missing WrestleMania 41, and that's kind of a bummer. But I do love that one of his stablemates and this new, this very dominant luchador from all across the world who's come to WWE recently, El Grande Americano, he's going to have this great match with Rey Mysterio. But we are talking about Rey Mysterio, the greatest luchador of all time. I think, obviously, all jokes aside, Rey Mysterio will probably win this match, and then we will unmask El Grande Americano. Where does the story go from here if he is not unmasked at WrestleMania? I think it would be very unwise to keep the story going because there's not a whole lot that you could do post-WrestleMania with Rey Mysterio. Also, Rey Mysterio, he's somebody who I feel like if he loses, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the context of the story. You go by the go-home math, he beat Julius Creed, but that doesn't mean a whole lot because he's not actually the one who walked away standing tall at the end of the night. That was El Grande Americano. So one thing I could see, working against my theory, is that we've seen El Grande Americano put that little piece of metal in his mask lately. If Rey maybe goes to hit him with the 619, when he hits it, it messes up his knee. He's been known to have knee issues and many surgeries on those knees over the years. So that is a way that El Grande Americano could win, is if he cheats. But I just don't see that happening, especially when you consider that LWO, American Made, both going to be involved in this. And if Chad Gable gets involved, maybe he turns his back on El Grande Americano because maybe he's just seen the error of his ways. Maybe he has seen that he wants to do the things the right, noble, patriotic way. But of course, that is El Grande Americano, is Chad Gable's, and will be revealed as such at WrestleMania 41 when Rey Mysterio wins and unmasks him. Next up, one of the best built matches, quite honestly, of the entire WrestleMania card, and that is Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Now, you could go a couple of ways with this. I do think there is a world in which Naomi wins. I just don't think it's this one, because if she wins, it kills all the momentum of Jade coming back, and I think we do have enough heels kind of winning for more reasonable outcomes that progress storylines. I think this is kind of like ending this story between Naomi and Jade, but I think we're going to build into Jade versus Bianca, which we'll get to when I release my Night 2 video. So for Night 1 with Jade versus Naomi, I see Jade walking away. Maybe we get an Avalanche Jaded off the top of the top rope. That would be cool. I think that Naomi could take it very well. I think Naomi has great character work that she's integrated, and she's allowed herself to stand out within the women's division, because before that, she was just another face within the babyface side of the women's division. So this has been a great opportunity for her, and I think we'll see that great character transition work with Bianca Belair, who I also think will be turning officially heel by the end of WrestleMania, and if not WrestleMania, then shortly thereafter. But for this match between these two former friends, I have Jade Cargill picking up the win. Next up, LA Knight, versus Jacob Fatu. LA Knight is walking in defending his United States Championship against a guy who has had hardly any singles matches in his WWE career. And it's interesting because we all love Jacob Fatu. We think he's incredibly talented. but he doesn't have a whole lot of track records when it comes to singles matches. Be really interesting to see how he can like present himself and handle himself in this context. If you watch any of his MLW stuff or anything before, WWE, you know that he is a very accomplished wrestler, very talented, very technical, very high flying, just an incredible marvel. But what is going to happen with him and LA Knight for the US title? They're teasing Randy versus Solo Sikoa. I don't think that's the route we're going. And so that leaves Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, potentially the greatest wrestler of all time, Tonga Loa, coming back, to be integrated into the US Championship match. And through that, does Solo Sikoa accidentally cost the championship opportunity for Jacob Fatu? I just don't see it happening. I think they want to protect Jacob Fatu, and what does that? That would mean that LA Knight would have to pin him clean. He's eventually got to lose, but I do think that Jacob Fatu is in this match to win the title, and also he has gold, which Solo Sikoa hasn't been able to secure for himself since breaking off from the OG Bloodline, and even with the new Bloodline, who got the titles? It was the Guerrillas of Destiny, right? And who held those titles alongside him at one point? Jacob Fatu. So like there's this whole part of the storyline that like I think it makes the most sense to have Jacob Fatu win, because it would actually drive the storyline of the Bloodline, Civil 2.0 Civil War even further, of Jacob versus Solo. I just have the sneaking suspicion that they will let LA Knight retain the title at WrestleMania, especially since he just recently won it back from Shinsuke Nakamura. But my official prediction is that we have LA Knight lose the title to Jacob Fatu, even in spite of some, miscommunication between Solo and Jacob Fatu. Next up, the craziest build of all WrestleMania 41, Tiffany Stratton defending her WWE Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair obviously winning the Royal Rumble a couple months ago to get this opportunity. And guys, I'm just going to say, I'm going to go with head and heart here. I am going to say Tiffany Stratton has to retain the title. If Charlotte wins, where does everybody go from here? Like, I really feel like this is, you need to give Tiffany Stratton a launching pad to be like the face of SmackDown moving forward, because you have Bianca, Io, and Rhea all on Raw. On SmackDown, it really is Charlotte and Tiffany. So give Tiffany the opportunity to say, I am better than Charlotte Flair. I beat the queen. I held my own. And if Charlotte wins at WrestleMania, it doesn't create a story for SmackDown moving forward where we have anybody that we can really get invested in as much as we do Tiffany Stratton. The only way it works is if Charlotte Flair wins dirty. And the only way it really, really works is if this continues to build a storyline in which Tiffany Stratton is chasing. If Charlotte wins, I don't see that happening. Because we look back a couple years ago when they did Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey, even that, that was more unpredictable, I think, than this current, situation. And Ronda Rousey wasn't like somebody who's brand new or somebody who was still like developing her career. She had this huge presence outside. She could take that loss. This feels a little bit more predictable in that Charlotte should win because that's what WWE wants to do. But I think, realistically, what makes the most sense in terms of progression of storyline, progression of character, and giving a reason to have the story continue is if Tiffany wins. Give Tiffany the first dominant win. You can still have Charlotte versus Tiffany. I think there's legs there. But I don't think at this point you have Tiffany lose to Charlotte Flair, especially because you get that in front of that crowd. Nobody was happy when Charlotte won the Royal Rumble. I think even less people will be happy if she wins the championship again against Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. Next up, Gunther defending his world championship against Jey Uso. And this is another reason I think that Tiffany Stratton retains, is because I think you have one. If you have both Royal Rumble winners win, especially because Tiffany Stratton's kind of like the young up-and-comer and she's the champion going in, I don't think that is necessarily the story that WWE is wanting to tell. And I just don't see Jey Uso losing his match. So I see Jey Uso defeating Gunther, finally, kind of like ending the streak of losing against this guy that nobody except Sami Zayn could seem to defeat, or Cody Rhodes. And he's in that ecosystem, right? It's Jey and Cody. That's where Yeet came from, was from when those two were a tag team. So I think that Jey Uso's going to win. It's going to be a terribly hard-fought match. and I think that crowd is going to go nuts when it happens. I could see Gunther getting his heat back, and then Jimmy Uso comes out and kind of, reconnects with Jay to congratulate him on winning. Maybe Rikishi shows up. But I do think that Jay walks away with this World Championship. I don't know if we're done with Jay versus Gunther, or if we are, it's only for now. I think Gunther could walk away for a little bit, come back, chase the title, and get it once again, because I don't think this is the last world title reign for Gunther, even this year. All right, guys, before I give you my prediction for the main event, make sure like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and let me know down in the comments below your predictions for WrestleMania 41 Night 1. Okay, here it is, the triple threat main event. Seth freaking Rollins versus the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns, versus, with his best friend Paul Heyman in his corner, CM Punk. This one, I feel like of all the matches, this is probably the hardest one to predict from both nights, because even with the women's triple threat, I feel like there's a sense of logic that helps you determine who's probably going to win. I don't know where they go storyline from here. I think it makes sense to say CM Punk will win because he has Paul Heyman in his corner. I think it makes sense to say that Roman Reigns will win because Paul Heyman wants to make good with Roman Reigns after what just happened on Monday Night Raw. And I think it makes sense to say Seth Rollins uses the distraction of Paul Heyman trying to appease the two men in his life that he cares so deeply about and that he's represented for the majority of his career outside of Brock Lesnar, that it takes everybody else's eyes off the ball as Seth Rollins comes in, stomps both men, and walks away with the win. I also think, there's that rumor out there that Seth Rollins is the true Paul Heyman guy, that he walks away with Paul Heyman at the end of the night. I think that whatever happens, Seth Rollins wins. And I said this months ago when I was actually predicting my card for WrestleMania 41, like when I was creating the match card for this show. I said that this triple threat match would happen, and I said Seth Rollins would pick up the win because it's what creates a further storyline. Roman still can't beat Seth. Seth beat Punk in his first WrestleMania main event, and we continue to build this story. Now, what happens as a result of this? Is it for bragging rights? Does Seth get a championship match against whoever wins the World Championship match or the WWE Championship match? I don't know if you need that stake of a contendership as a result of winning. I think this is all for the bragging rights, and what a better person to have bragging rights over his two most hated enemies than Seth Rollins. CM Punk, he's going to parlay that into going after a championship. Roman Reigns is going to use that to parlay to go to a championship. But the whole Paul Heyman storyline, I feel like, still looms over Roman Reigns after WrestleMania, and Roman versus Punk can actually work really organically building into SummerSlam based upon Paul Heyman's split allegiance to those two guys, which Seth Rollins, the current day ultimate opportunist and really the architect of a lot of things that have fallen apart for both of these men, especially Roman Reigns in the last few years. He's the man I think walks away at the end of night one, his arm held high. But guys, I'll tell you right now, any three of these guys could walk away with the win, and it makes sense. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Like I said earlier, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. We are on the road. Can we get to 2,500 subscribers before or by WrestleMania 41 this weekend? If you can, please help us try to accomplish that goal by subscribing to the channel. I'll see you very soon.